Welcome to today's episode of How the Game Was Won, and today we're looking at the game between Kramnik and Nepomniachtchi played in the European Club Cup, and this specific game was played on the 20th of October 2015. And without further ado, let's see how the game rolled itself out. We've got E4, knight f6, knight f3, g6, g3, bishop g7, bishop g2, d5, castles, castles, c3, and Kramnik here is playing as if he has black pieces. But as we have seen recently, an opening advantage is not really something that he is looking for. b6, c4, c6, knight e5, bishop b7, knight c3, knight b to d7, queen a4, knight e5, d takes an e5, knight takes an e4, knight takes an e4, d takes an e4, bishop f4, e3, bishop takes an e3, bishop takes an e5, rook ad1, queen c7, c5. And now that we've come most definitely out of the opening and solidly into the middle game, let's just have a quick look, see at what we've got here. And these are just exactly the types of positions that one would dread to have against a player like Kramnik. He's just so good at squeezing the absolute minutest of advantages out of a position. And the way the move, for instance, c5 is very typical against the bishop that is sitting on b7, because obviously by pushing the c5 pawn it blocks the c6 pawn into place, which in turn traps the b7 bishop from being able to fully utilize that long diagonal. And with these types of positions as well, for instance, the game between Qa4 and Vladimir from a couple of years ago comes to mind. Continuing, bishop takes b2, queen takes b3, bishop f6, c takes in b6, a takes in b6, bishop takes in b6, queen c8, rook c1. And as you can see here, the c6 pawn is most definitely an incredibly weak pawn, whereas conversely, for instance, that a2 pawn is not really weak, simply because the difference between the c6 pawn is that it's under direct threat from the rook sitting on c1. But what's more, it's a case of anywhere that the pawn happens to move to, the bishop is able to cover its squares, so it makes its situation incredibly tenuous. And what's more, as I mentioned before, its current position is still blocking in that bishop on b7. The a2 pawn conversely has that marauding a file that it can stomp its way up, being covered and protected by the potential rook a1 as well as the queen sitting on b3. Continuing, queen g4, rook c2, rook a6, bishop f3, queen a4, queen takes an a4, rook takes an a4, rook d1. And now it's a case of Kramnik is looking to infiltrate along that open d file. Bishop a8, bishop c5, rook b8, a3, e5, e3, e4, bishop e2, rook b7, rook c4. Now what Kramnik is maybe doing with this move is effectively getting rid of black's one and only active piece that he has in the game, that being the rook sitting on a4. exchange that piece off, and black has absolutely 0 active pieces, as opposed to Kramnik's pieces that are not only active but harmonized together incredibly well. Rook takes in c4, bishop takes in c4. Now just look at the situation here. You've got black's got this rook sitting on a8 that is being trapped into position by not only the rook but also the pawn. So which means that it will be at least 3, maybe 4 moves before black will be able to activate that bishop, if he ever gets that chance whatsoever. So right at the moment it is as if Kramnik is playing with an extra bishop, and he uses that to his best possible advantage. King g7, a4, bishop e7, bishop takes in e7, exchanging off the other bishop effectively means that it increases the positional advantage Kramnik has because of that trapped a8 bishop. Rook takes in e7, a5, f5, rook d8, rook a7, a6, king f6, rook e8. Now if you look at it, the rook is tied down to the bishop on a8, and the bishop cannot move because it's being hemmed in by that c6 pawn. The black king is effectively completely cut off from his minor pieces. And all in all, the white king has got time to be able to get into the battle at its own leisurely pace without receiving any hindrance whatsoever from the black pieces that are tied and jammed up against each other on a7 and a8. Continuing c5, king f1, king g7, king e2, bishop c6, rook c8, bishop d7, rook g8 with check, king h6. And obviously king f6 would allow for rook b8, for instance, which is even worse for black. So after king h6 we've got rook b8, bishop c6, rook b6, bishop a8, bishop b5, rook c7, king d2, rook c8, king c3, king g5, h3, and after the h3, black has absolutely no counterplay whatsoever. His pieces are all still trapped off in the top left hand corner of the board. White has huge activity, and white's king can just come marauding up the board and pick off pawns at leisure. h5, king c4, h4, rook e6, h takes in g3, f takes in g3, and the rook will be coming up to e8 and will be game over, because as you can see here, with the rook coming up to e8, you've got the rook obviously covered by the bishop, and the attack will be down not only onto the rook but onto the bishop as well, and it will be completely game over, which is a fantastic positional display from Vladimir Kramnik, and that in this position Nepomniachtchi resigned, Kramnik won, and that is effectively how the game was won. Please feel free to share this video out amongst all of your chess friends, and also give me the thumbs up if you like this type of content, thumbs down if not. That way you help me to produce better video content for you in the days and weeks going forward. Also, share any comments, questions, criticisms that you may have in the comment section down below. And last but by no means least, down the bottom of the screen, if you're watching this in YouTube, is a big red subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button, that way you stay subscribed to my channel for all the new content that comes out on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. Until I see you next time for another episode of How the Game Was Won, stay carved up for the win out there. I'll see you next time.